Hi, everyone. I'm here in my office at the University of Houston, and I'm glad that you could join us for our third Hangout on Storybird. Remember, this week we're talking about creativity tools, and Storybird is a great tool to encourage creativity in any level of student in any classroom. So we're going to look at the features of Storybird tonight, and I'm turning on our questions and answer tab over here on the right, on my right. And if you have questions, you are welcome to ask those questions. As always, if you're viewing this recorded, you can ask questions in our Hangout. Remember, we have a Hangout discussion group on our discussion forums. So we're really glad that you're listening, live or recorded, and wanting to learn more about Storybird. We've had a few suggestions about showing the programs, and I'm going to try to do a better job of showing them on our shared screen and making the screen a little bigger. So I hope that works for you. Remember, though, as I'm talking through this idea of using Storybird, that you would have already made a decision to use a creativity tool in your classroom, that you have a problem or an issue that you're trying to address, a specific one, not just, I want to use a tool, but we found that a more focused study approach where you start with a problem or an issue is much better than just learning a tool and then wondering how to use it. So thank you again for joining us. Remember, you can ask questions over here on the right, and I'm going to share my screen for Storybird, and hopefully you'll be able to see it a little better because I'm going to try to make the screen much bigger. So here we go. We're going to screen share, and I hope that you'll be able to see that. This is a promotional screen from Storybird, and it focuses on the main ideas behind Storybird. So I'm going to start with that, and then we'll look at some of the special features of Storybird. So one of the important things to remember about Storybird is that it's free if you're an educator, and it works on any device. So you can use it on a regular desktop computer, a laptop, or even an iPad. So there are three main creations in Storybird. You can create a picture book, a long-form book, which is much more text-driven, or poetry. And each feature has some limitations and some benefits. We're going to talk about each of those. So basically, Storybird allows your students to start with a visual image, a design, a graphic that's already up on Storybird, and build a story around that picture. I'm going to scroll down here and we're going to look at some details, especially for educators. I hope that this is big enough for you to see. We're going to make it just a little bigger. So as an educator, you can create a class and your students can register as students without having an email. You can create accounts for them and provide the passwords for them. So even with very young students, 2nd, 3rd, 4th grade, they don't have to have email. You can set all that up for them. Your class is private. Only the people that you allow in that class can see what's there. So as far as privacy and student concerns, There really aren't any here in Storybird that I've found. You can share student work in the class library, and what happens in that format is that students can read each other's work. That's not a public forum, that's just for your class. Here's the information about generating student accounts, and you can create assignments and give feedback all in a dashboard in your Storybird account. So let me switch to my view of Storybird. I'm going to make this just a little bit bigger so you can see it here. I'm in the studio. You can tell that because right up above the word studio here is a blue bar. And I've set up a class here called Learning, Design, and Technology. And I've asked our graduate assistants to participate in that class so you could see actually some of their work. So as a teacher, I would create assignments. This one, for example, we'll look at create a spring story. I've created that. I can always go back and edit it. And then I uploaded a picture to inspire students. This can be a picture from Storybird that's already there, or a picture that I upload. So I could upload a picture of the town or community in the spring or the school that I want to inspire students. Now, this is not a picture that they would use, just a picture that goes with my assignment. And you can see, I hope, over here on the right side, that this assignment was due in February, and I have 2 students who submitted it. And I can look down here and see those 2 submissions. Rashmi submitted a book, and Arthur submitted a book. So let's just look at what one of those might look like. This is Rashmi's book, and she, in her book, used pictures from Storybird. Students do not have the option of uploading pictures. They have to use the pictures that are already here in Storybird. And you will find these pictures are remarkable. There are illustrators who share their work here in Storybird, and they have whole portfolios of pictures that come in. Now, students can only use, when they create a book like Rashmi has done here, excuse me, they can only use pictures from one artist. And you can see that that artist is Inky Mum, and it gives you a little preview of what that is. I can make this book full screen. I think you'll be able to see it a little better, maybe not. Well, I'm not sure. Let's try that again. So maybe that is, you can see a little bit better. And you navigate here by just clicking here, and you see she's used the picture from Inky Mom, and then over here she's written the text, her own original text that goes with that picture. So I can go forward or backward, and I can read Rashmi's book here. And you can see that this is a very short picture book. Now, there is an option on all of these screens for you to download and actually buy the book. You can buy it in softcover, PDF, or even hardcover, but you don't need to. You can share the link to this, and you can also give it likes here. So we're going to go back here. Oh, here's a good thing I forgot to show you. These are the other students in the class, and they've made comments about Rashmi's story. And you can see I I've also made comments here about Rashmi's story. So to go back to my assignments, I just go back here to the studio, and you can see there's Rashmi's assignment. We have a poem here too by George. I'm going to make it a little bigger here. And you can see a poem is a little different than a picture book because a poem only has one picture they can use, and the words for that poem are automatically generated. So you may have seen poems on magnets that you can put on your refrigerator and arrange the words, and this is like that. Now you see, as a teacher, I can give George a letter grade here or a numeric grade, and I can make notes here. I can also give public or private feedback. You see, this is a private comment, but I could also give him a public comment that the other students in class might see. So for writing assignments for students, this is really a great tool. And if you go up here to the library, you can see all of the assignments that were created, all the works that were created for all the assignments. You can look at student view here, and you can look at assignment view here. So this is really easy to navigate. You see, I have a assignment here about a poem about an animal. I'll give you a little preview here. Let's see if you can see that a little bit better. My instructions were to write a poem about an animal, and I included a picture of me on my horse. So as a student, I would just click do this assignment. Now let's just imagine I'm a student doing this assignment, and the first screen that I come to is the right screen. So Storybird really turns the creation process around. Excuse me just a minute. And they start with a picture. So there's lots and lots and lots of pictures here. I'm going to start with this unicorn picture. And you can see the artist up here. And I can change my mind here. I can go over here to another piece of art. I can view all the pieces of art and look through them again. But I'm going to stick to this unicorn. And once I've chosen the unicorn, I can just click use this art. There's a blue button over here. And I'm going to create a poem. Now you see that the words are already generated. Students don't have to come up with those words. So to use a word, I just drag it over here and arrange those words in any way that I want to. And I can move them around a little bit. And you can see how that goes. I can put these words anywhere I want to, and I can keep working on this. Finding happiness today and friend, unexpected, and gift. Now, it's not perfect, but you know, it really is a lot of fun. So if I don't like these words, I can come over here. I can say refresh words. It's going to erase my poem, and now I have new words. And I can keep on moving words and making a poem. When I get through and I am finished here, I'm going to scroll out a little bit. I'm going to come down here to menu, and I'm going to publish it. And I can share my poem by email. I can share the link. I can embed the poem in a web page. And then all I have to do, I'm going to click private, not for school, and continue. So when I come to you and I look at your stuff, this is the You menu up here, you can see that I've written some books. Well, these are actually in progress, and I've published 3 poems. Now, these are all private unless I want to change that view, but I think that that's a great way to encourage creativity in children and adults. So we looked at the studio. If I click studio, that's where my class is, that's where my assignments are, where my grades are. And then if I click write, that's where I create things, and you is where my stuff already is that I've been working on. I can also follow people. I can follow writers, and I can follow artists. I'm following Storybird right now, and I'm following this person called Blue Dog Rose. And if I click here, you can see the story about Blue Dog Rose and her artwork. So this leads me to think why someone would put up their illustrations on Storybird for someone else to use. And part of it, I believe, is because she sells her work on an Etsy shop, and this is good advertising for her. A lot of people probably use her artwork. You can see she has quite a bit here. I'm just scrolling through all of it pretty quickly, because I know you'll want to explore Storybird too. But she has a lot up here, and it's all about the same type of thing. But let's think about the benefits of using artwork like this that's already here for your students, whether they're in first grade or whether they're in the university. This really protects them from art that might be questionable, especially for your younger students, because all of the artwork here has been approved. It's safe, they can use it, and we know that they're not going to see something that might shock them or make their parents unhappy. So that's in the right category. Now there's one more part of Storybird that I haven't talked about, and that's the read part. So there are quite a few stories, books, that have been posted here from writers who want to share what they've written. And you can see down here that there are categories, just like you would visit at the library. There's different formats, and there are different age groups. So let's imagine that instead of your students creating something right away, you want to give them experience of reading other people's work. Then you can select some books to share with your class. Let's look at the kid books. And you can see this is the one that's featured, called The Brace Chronicles. Pretty cute. And then here's some more. The Electric Elephant, B&R, Oh No, Book 3, My Family Chaos, Summer Days, Give Me a Break, Spies, Really? So these are all very interesting titles, at least, and would make great reading experiences for your students to let them know what they could create in Storybird. We don't want them just to be readers. We want them to be creators too. But this is a good way to get started. Now, you might think that Storybird is just for children, but there are some really interesting adult books too. And so when we look down here, there's A Year Before I Can Walk Again, Good Girls and Bad Boys, Perfect Love, Ghost in the War Machine. So people put up these books even though they are not finished. So they might start a book. Let me show you this one. It's called Fallen Angel. You can just see it here maybe. And it only has one chapter. And you can subscribe to these books, and as a new chapter gets written, you'll get an email notification, and you can start reading those books as they go along. So Storybird is much more than just reading or writing or classes. It really does give your students a literacy experience, both visual and text-based. And I think that you will like to use this as a creativity tool. Now, what I'd like to do in our last few minutes is those of you who are watching now, I want you to type a question over here in the Q&A section. If you don't see that, there should be a little Q&A bubble over here in your menu bar. And I'd like you to type a question or a comment or an idea about using Storybird. I've put some links in our Storybird discussion forum in the section about Hangouts, and I'd like to continue this discussion there. But I'd like you to type something, a reaction, an idea, a question about Storybird while we're live today. So I'm going to give you a second to do that. I know that if you're a viewer that you're thinking about what questions you might ask or a comment that you might make. And while you're typing, I'm just going to go through and show you some books that are available. So I'm waiting for questions, and I'll show you some pages of a book. Okay, I don't see any questions. So I hope that you will continue this discussion in our Hangout and ask some questions. We really appreciate the interaction from you and love to hear from you. So I'm going to stop screen sharing Storybird, and I'm going to share just a couple things with you before we end today. First, next week, we're going to change formats a little bit. We're not going to review a tool for your part of the MOOC. We are going to work on your final project. And I sent an announcement out earlier about a new page that we created on the MOOC called Final Project Information. Now, you had some of that in your syllabus, but we've put up some questions and answers about your final project. So I hope that you'll look at that. You can find that link on the left side of your Coursera page in the navigation menu. It's called, I think I will screen share here just for a second. And we'll look at Coursera for just a second, and I'll show you where that is. So I hope that you can see this. Over here on the right menu screen, right there, it says course, and then there's video resources, screencasting, and final project information. And you can see that this page starts with frequently asked questions about your final project. I hope that you will look at that and let us know if you have any questions or concerns about that. We would be happy to answer them. So I'm going to say good night. It's 6:30 here in Houston, and I know that some of you are up in the middle of the night trying to look at this, and we really appreciate your attendance. So we will see you later. Next week, we'll be reviewing another tool in our Hangout, and I hope that you'll join us. Good night. See you later from Houston.